Hey, it's Jordan. An easy life will destroy you. I know this probably isn't going to be the most popular video I've ever made. The majority of the collective are very attached to ease and comfort these days, and it's never been more easy to be comfortable. But during my morning meditation this morning, I asked my soul what I should talk about today. And my higher self talks to me in images and symbols. And I saw a plant that was in a glass box that was barely growing. It was alive, but it was barely alive. It was all bent over and just trying to perk itself up. And what's obvious to me is, I don't know if you've ever grown plants before, but if you put a plant in a glass box with artificial light and you give it enough water just to survive, it will never bear fruit. If it does, the fruit will just pull it down and kill the plant. And it's kind of a paradox. If you want a strong, resilient plant, then you have to give it conditions that mimic nature. So you need to give it wind. You need to let it learn to hold itself up. You need to give it direct sunlight. All these things can be considered torture for the plant. The plant could complain, why can't I just have it easy? Why can't you protect me from the wind and the sun? And on and on and on. And the same thing could be said for people. We could ask ourselves, I know I've asked myself in the past, why does this have to be so hard? Why do I have to be tortured by the circumstances that I find myself in this life? And the reason for that is how we grow. That is the catalyst and the motivation to bring greatness out of you, out of anyone. Sort of like a sword. When you think of a samurai sword, you have to melt it. Basically, you start it on fire and melt it, and then you have to fold it in half and hammer it. Melt it, fold it in half and hammer it. Melt it, break it in half and hammer it. And you do this 1,000,000 times. You do it for years. And eventually, that melting and breaking and hammering gets to the point where that sword is a sword for the ages. It will be able to stand up to any test, and it will be sharp far longer than a sword that was just hammered once or twice and then put to the test. And I know I'm still in my growth journey. I still have a lot of hammering and folding and melting in my own life. And now I lean into that. Instead of trying to avoid difficulties and challenges, I look for them. And this can be from my daily movement routines, to meditation, to ice baths, to saunas, to what I put on my schedule, how I schedule my life, and really just my attitude towards challenges. I know that an easy life will destroy me. And of course, you can go too far to the extreme, and everyone has a breaking point where, maybe it was too much. Life got overwhelming, and you decide to escape for the rest of your life. You can easily work a comfortable job, get off work, get drunk, watch TV, and do that cycle until you die. And you'll probably have a pretty painful and uncomfortable death. The last years of your life, I've seen it with family and friends, and it does not end well when you don't lean into some discomfort, some growth, some greatness. The end of your life, it's going to get challenging, I guess, either way. So this is the message for today. Allow yourself to become resilient and learn to bear the fruits of your labor. It's no coincidence that the people that win the lottery, 95% of them go bankrupt in a couple of years. There's no structure to bear the fruit of that money. Nobody accidentally becomes successful and prosperous. It's a process of the same way no one accidentally climbs the top of the mountain. You, step by step, are deliberately taking movements in the direction of climbing the mountain. You can accidentally fall to the bottom of a mountain, that's easy, but you can't accidentally fall to the top. In the same way, you can't accidentally fall into greatness. So if you find yourself in a season of struggle, realize that strength comes from the struggle, and that it's actually a blessing. When you look at it that way, it becomes that for you. So that's the message. You have everything you need within you. And especially if you're watching a channel like this, people that have been through the ringer and encourage you to put yourself in it. That's the real magic. Otherwise, how would you be valuable to other people? If you just get drunk and watch TV, are you going to offer your story to the world? Would anybody listen to that story? Would anybody be interested in that? Of course you're going to be depressed if that's all you do with your life. And it's never too late. As long as there's breath in your lungs, you have the capacity to start moving towards greatness, start moving towards growth. And the transformation you take from that process, you bring it with you from lifetime to lifetime. There's a reason why people have spontaneous awakenings when they're children or when they're young. It's because they brought that spiritual development from past lives. And so in this life that they're living, they get to get almost like a cheat code. And of course, the more difficult their life is, the more likely that they're an old soul, because the same way you get bored of the first level of a video game, you want something more challenging. Same way we come into this lives, we pick our situation and we pick the level of difficulty that we have to go through. And when we have greater challenges, that's when we get greater rewards. So embrace the difficulty, embrace the suffering, embrace the struggle, and it will pay off tenfold. Love you. Ciao.